Hey, this is Mark Watson from MTC Media. Throughout the college basketball season, I'll be making appearances on Awadd Radio 910 The Fan, talking all things college basketball. So please enjoy my latest appearance.
But right now, it's time for University Drive College Basketball, all things local here in the state of Virginia.
Let's go to University Drive. Scores, buzzer beaters, madness. All the college basketball in the state of Virginia. We'll follow your favorite teams all season long. University Drive on Awadd Radio.
And joining us right now on the Hadid Mercer Rug Cleaning Hotline is our buddy Marcus Mook Washington. What's going on, Mook?
Hey, doing great, my brother. I'm glad that the college basketball season is back.
I know. I mean, this is one of the biggest days in the calendar year. All eyes should be on college basketball teams all across the country. And why don't we start with the school where my mom went to school, and because of that, I was a big fan growing up of Gary Williams and the Terps. What are your thoughts on Maryland this season?
Oh, this fan base is bullish, and they should be bullish. They have the perfect veteran players and a great recruiting. That's when you can bring back Dante Scott, Jameer Young, which was your leading scorer, and have Juju Reese, who has done an excellent job in a conference that has traditional bigs. You're adding on Jamie Kaiser and Deshaun Harris-Smith. They're the reason why Maryland is excited. They're going to be good defensively. I just got a press conference with he said they're not quite defensively where they were at this time last year, but he knows they are going to get offensively, be an embarrassment of riches, score off of the bounce. They can flat out shoot it. They can throw it inside the Reese. A lot of things to like here, which is why they're picked third in the tough Big Ten. He had something special here. Could be the best team in the DMV.
I'm Adam Epstein. You're listening to Awadd Radio here on the new Sports Radio 910 The Fan, now at 105.1 FM. And on the Hadid Mercer Rug Cleaning Hotline right now is our buddy Marcus Mook Washington. He's your one-stop shop for all sports news and opinions from the DMV and beyond. It's Making the Cut with Mook, mtcwithmook.com, and same thing on social media. I think for Georgetown, I hate to say this, but you could argue addition by subtraction. They finally decided to move on from Patrick Ewing, as much as we loved him as a player, both in college basketball and in the NBA. It just didn't work with him being the head coach in Georgetown. How are they going to be with Ed Cooley?
3 years. Coach Cooley has been preaching all offseason for patience from fans and the media. And you know what? I'm glad that he's been flat out honest about it. This team, beyond the record, we all understand record-wise how bad Georgetown got under Patrick Ewing. But what I don't think people knew was how bad they have gotten outside of that record on the recruiting trail, getting guys in, how poorly they have been coached over the last 6 years, and restoring the brand. And Ed Cooley, when you lose as many players as Georgetown has lost, remember now, Ewing lost 3 entire recruiting classes to transfers. So Cooley started with absolutely positively nothing. And he's brought in guys out of the transfer portal, just like most coaches in today's era will do when they're in this situation. If you are a Georgetown fan, you have to hang your hat on. They have 4 4-stars coming in the 24 class. They are in the running for a couple of 4-stars in the 25 class. And the idea that the coaching staff wants to build over their recruiting and then fill in with the transfer portal and not the opposite. Because Ewing tried the opposite, and it was a complete and utter disaster. So I would tell Georgetown fans this: 14 to 17 wins is a successful season. I thought that picking them 8th in the Big East is being extremely optimistic. I don't know if they're better than Seton Hall, who they were picked in front of. Again, it's going to be a heavy dose of patience, and they have a good coach. So if I was selling Georgetown right now, I would sell you have a good coach that is going to put this program on the right path and try to deflect from wins and losses these first 2 years. And that's the best you can do.
Read more of his work online, mtcwithmook.com. And over to the A10, we'll start with George Mason. And I grew up a fan of George Mason with Jim Larinaga, but the school has changed a ton since then. And I'm going to actually start this by taking a shot at Kim English. I truly believe he was a social media head coach. All right. In his 2 seasons at George Mason, they were 34-29. They barely sniffed an A-10 semifinal or final, never made an NCAA tournament appearance, and he jets off to Providence. And, I wish him the best of luck there. But I do think George Mason's in better hands now with Tony Skinn, who served as an assistant coach at Louisiana Tech, Seton Hall, Ohio State, and most recently Maryland. And he feels good about stepping back on campus where he went to the Final Four with George Mason. So out goes the social media head coach. In comes the Final Four guy himself, Tony Skinn.
Well, for George Mason, if you are an alum and went to George Mason like myself, I will admit that, the thing that you have to be excited about is you have a coach that wants to be here. And before everyone laughed at that, you just had a coach that did not want to be here. And I don't mean that as criticism, but obviously Kim from the time that campus was looking at this more as a stepping stone somewhere else, as opposed to saying I would be here for at least an entire recruiting class. Tony Skinn, that's not what you're going to get. And it's a similar situation. There were some players that went with Kim up to Providence, and Tony has filled in the roster via the transfer portal. But what you have in George Mason that you should be excited about is there is a clear path as far as recruiting. There's a clear path of wanting to be there and wanting guys that want to be there, not guys who want to use George Mason as a pit stop. And in the Atlantic 10, and you already know this, when you can have a roster that has juniors and seniors, you realistically can be in that coveted top 4 going into the Atlantic 10 tournament. Now, George Mason probably will not be in the top 4 this year. I believe they are picked to finish 10th, which I think is fine because this fan base isn't one of those unrealistic fan bases. I think because of Tony's relationship with the university, that there's going to be a heavy dose of patience and support for a guy that isn't going to leave after 2 years.
I love the way you said that, man. We both agree. I felt like on the outside looking in, Kim English did not want to be there. And you didn't seem to have a problem with me calling him a social media head coach.
No, and look, I will admit this, that in those 2 years, I do have a pretty good relationship with him, but the truth of the matter is he was always looking, for the next head coaching job. And I understand that, and I'm not begrudging that. He gets a Big East job, a fringe power conference. Some people say the Big East is a power conference, some don't. But it would have been hard to turn down. I understand it. But for the George Mason community, considering where it is and kind of how the program is viewed, I don't think there's any debate that Tony Skinn is a better fit for what George Mason is looking for than Kim English.
All right, Mook, let's get to the real face of the A-10, and that is the VCU Rams with their home opener tonight and the beginning of the Ryan Odom era. What are your thoughts on the Rams?
Once again, a head coach and hire that fits. What I love about bringing in Ryan Odom, that is a guy with proven success. And I'm going to be honest with you, being a coach myself, I love his free-flowing offense. The way it gets guys open, the way you can leverage a guy like Zeb Jackson, who now can be that facilitator along with shooting, and it be more in a flow than more of a helter-skelter type of situation. And then it opens up for the Jason Nelsons of the world. And just like his predecessors, Ryan will have a particular way to recruit. And it's not going to be the same as his predecessors. But if you look at what he did at Utah State and the offensive efficiency that they can generate, if they don't turn the ball over, this is an offense that is held on wheels. It's going to get open threes. That's going to open up for inside in the paint. And defensively, they've been around 70-ish if you look at Ken Palm and stuff. But defensively, they will be fine in the Atlantic 10. So great hire once again by VCU. I might as well put that on a tape and replay it for you every time. Great hire from VCU. And I can understand why they were picked to finish second in the Atlantic 10.
Follow him on social media, MTC with Mook. Great stuff, man. Looking forward to having you on throughout the college basketball season.
Hey, thank you, my brother.
Yep, you're listening to Awadd Radio on the Fan. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Welcome back.